I've been trying to process what exactly happened last night since the game ended. We did a space on Twitter to talk about it, and I'm not going to lie, I still don't understand the decision-making to close out the end of the game. But to start, I'm going to give my props to Seattle Seahawks. They played a great game plan. Geno Smith did what he was supposed to do in the first half. They didn't turn the ball over recklessly. If the Broncos did get a turnover, they worked for it. The Seattle Seahawks were very stout in the red zone. They made it difficult for the Denver Broncos in the red zone. So you absolutely want to give a shout out for when teams do their best and they make it happen. So definitely for sure, shout out to the Seattle Seahawks. Shout out to Pete Carroll. You did what you were supposed to do to get a victory, and that's really all that matters. That's all you can ask for. But y'all, what in the world was Nathaniel Hackett thinking to end that game? I'm going to go full screen here. So with 1 minute and 11 seconds left, the Denver Broncos have they're on the 45-yard, the opposing 45-yard line, roughly around there. They have 1 minute and 11 seconds left. It's a 3rd and 14. So Russell Wilson dumps it off to Javonte Williams, who gets 9 hard-earned yards. 9 hard-earned yards. And in this situation, we're like, all right, bet. We're looking at a 4th and 5 situation with about 55 seconds left to go in the game. At this point in time in my mind, I'm like, all right, Brett, there's 2 options here. Either you immediately call a timeout and then you get a play schedule for what you want to get together. You look at the formations. You say, Russ, who do you trust here? Are you looking for Judy? Are you looking for Okwebunam? Are you looking for Sutton? Or do you want something for Javonte because he has 11 receptions already? Or you want to do a rollout. You want to run the ball. Let me ask you a question to gauge on what you feel most comfortable doing. So that's the first option. The second option is we just get to the line quickly, 58 seconds left. Hey, Brandon McManus is standing right next to you. We're going to send you on the field. Your distance is at its peak at the 46-yard line, which is a 64-yard field goal. So therefore, we're going to give you an opportunity to win us the game, Brandon. That was the other option. What Nathaniel Hackett chose instead was we're going to let the clock dwindle from 58 seconds to literally 20 seconds left in the game. And so I'm sitting here looking like, what in the world were you thinking? So you're telling me that you would rather burn 30 seconds off of the clock than get up to the line, make a play, make a decision, and then on top of that, you burn 30 seconds off the clock. But in my mind, I'm listening to Joe Buck. I'm watching Peyton Manning and Eli Manning and Shannon Sharp. I'm seeing Troy Aikman. Everybody's like, all right, bet. Well, you're getting to play together. You want to make sure that Seattle has no time left over when you're going for the first down. If you get the first down, you got 2 more timeouts after this with 20 seconds to try to get at least 5 to 15 more yards of good field goal position to put yourself in an advantageous situation. While Joe Buck is talking, I'm of the mindset that Russell Wilson and the offense is getting ready to come back onto the field. But instead of that, the theme of the game was at the end of the play clock, they're getting their plays off. So here we go to the end of the play clock. Brandon McManus strolls out for a 64-yard field goal. First off, Pete Carroll ices him, and he hooks it to the left, 64 yards. Leg is obviously there because he's obviously always been a very powerful kicker. But in this situation, Pete Carroll calls a timeout. He misses it. I'm already kind of like, all right, bet. The best we can hope for is that he is able to rearrange his aiming point. He can get the ball where he needs to go, and then they can go from there. And hopefully he has enough leg to get it there. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, I just saw him hook it. Send the offense back on the field. Now, you can't do that, though. You can't do that because you can't go back on the gut. Because apparently it sounds like from Nathaniel Hackett, they talked about this pregame. So then Brandon McManus gets up there. He kicks it. It starts turning left. It keeps turning left. It keeps turning left. And then he misses it by about a foot. So we're already sitting here looking like, bruh, what just happened? What are you doing? And then they have 20 seconds left. They have 2 timeouts left. It is mathematically impossible for them to get the ball back. But Nathaniel Hackett decides that he wants to call both of his timeouts. And not like right away either. Like he waited for some time to do it before he called his first one. Even the referees, I think, were confused because the ref were like, they were like talking to him, like almost as if they were trying to find out what he was trying to accomplish by calling these timeouts. He gets the timeouts called, and all it does is delay the inevitable. That you mathematically, there's no way for you to get back into this game, win the game, or get the ball back unless you're hoping for a fumble or something like that. So in the last 1 minute and 11 seconds, they run a swing pass to Javonte Williams, get 9 yards, and that's the end of the game. Y'all, 3 timeouts, 1 minute and 11 seconds left. 3 timeouts, 58 seconds left on the 46-yard line of the Seahawks, and you don't get another single play off on a 4th and 5. Y'all, my biggest issue with this is Nathaniel Hackett was playing aggressive the entire game. He was playing aggressive going forward on 4th and goal. It ended up being a fumble with Melvin Gordon, but nonetheless, he was playing aggressive in that situation. And then you get to the end of the game where you have an opportunity with your $245 million quarterback, who is a 10-year vet, the winningest quarterback in NFL history through 10 years, who's been clutched repeatedly in the fourth quarter, leads the NFL in fourth-quarter touchdowns in 2012. All of these things are here and available for a player with a great resume. And yet you decide in that moment that you don't want to put the ball in their hand. So my question to that is, why would you trade for Russell Wilson in the first place if you weren't going to utilize him when the moment calls for it? That's what I don't get. That's what I don't understand. What is the point in having him on your team if you're not going to use him? Because Russell Wilson was cooking. Need I remind everybody? Russell Wilson was 29 of 42 for 340 yards yesterday. 69% completion percentage with a 101.3 rating. Now, he was short on some things. He missed some clear shots. There were 2 really bad throws he had that both could have been picked off by Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams. But they weren't. That's football. Y'all, the Denver Broncos left 21 points on the board with Javonte Williams fumble at the goal line. Apparently it was a misplay. There was a miscommunication because they couldn't hear because they were in Seattle. And then there was a fumble by Melvin Gordon on the 4th and goal. Again, both within the 1-yard line. And then Cortland Sutton in the red zone. They're about to do a shovel pass to Andrew Beck that looked like it was about to get in. Cortland Sutton moves early. It's a false start. Y'all, it was a penalty party from the start. It was a penalty party from the start. It was so many mental errors that the Broncos were having that they played themselves out of a win. Again, I already credited the Seattle Seahawks for doing what they were supposed to do to take care of the game. But the facts of the matter is that the Denver Broncos they should have been up 27-17 at one point in time, but because of mistakes, they lose. You lose a 1-point game. I want to remind everyone, Geno Smith had a good first half, like a really good first half. He was excellent for a Geno Smith standard. And really, like I said on Twitter, he was playing like a Derek Carr-like game. Not a lot of down-the-field stuff, but a lot of efficient, solid passing decisions. He even ran the ball really efficient. This happened. But my issue is that the reason why they scored 2 touchdowns in the game altogether is because they had 2 busted plays. One, Alex Singleton had a sack on Geno Smith on the first drive, missed it because he shouldn't be playing in the game in the first place because he's a journeyman. Missed the sack, touchdown. Will Grizzly, touchdown. Then Jonas Griffith, another situation where an inside linebacker doesn't get their hand on the tight end going down the seam, touchdown. And Kareem Jackson was apparently without a position as well. 2 mental errors, 2 touchdowns, all in the first half. But after that, I think they gave up 31 yards or something like that in the second half. Like, they didn't give up anything. Gave up 31 passing yards or whatever it was in the second half. Didn't do anything. They gave up 0 points in the second half. So the defense did its job. They locked in. They locked up. But the thing is, I think the Seahawks in spots played good defense, but it's not like they were forcing a lot of punch from the Broncos. The Broncos were just getting down the field, and they were just having mental error after mental error. I don't know what it is. Like, you getting stopped is one thing, but you fumbling inside the 1 yard line, y'all, it hasn't happened since 1987. Stuff that's fixable. So a part of my issues with how the game turned out was, I want y'all to hear this. The Denver Broncos, they won the time of possession. They had 34 minutes to the Seattle Seahawks 26 minutes. The Denver Broncos outgained in yardage the Seattle Seahawks 433 yards to 253 yards for the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos outpassed the Seattle Seahawks 330 passing yards to 177 passing yards. The Denver Broncos outrushed the Seattle Seahawks 103 yards to 76 yards. The Denver Broncos had 20 first downs. The Seattle Seahawks had 19 first downs. But here's the difference. The Denver Broncos had 12 penalties in the game and 2 turnovers. 12 penalties and 2 turnovers to the Seattle Seahawks, 5 penalties and 1 turnover. And they both had 2 sacks, and the Denver Broncos had 64 plays, the 49 plays. That whole column to the left, it says the Broncos were the better team. They were the more dominant team. The issue is they were the less mistake-free team. Simple as that. You win the turnover battle, that's good. You're gonna win a lot of games if you win a turnover battle. You win the penalty battle, you're gonna win a lot of games if you win a penalty battle. Now you win both, you have a very high probability of winning the game. The Broncos had false starts. The Broncos had defensive holding. The Broncos would just have people moving. The Broncos just had stuff like people were moving on an alignment situation where they weren't aligned properly. Garrett Bowles wasn't aligned properly. Apparently he was not on the line of scrimmage. Like, there were just so many little things that compounded to the Denver Broncos losing that football game, when in every way, shape, and form, whether it's Javonte playing well, had 11 receptions yesterday and 7 carries. He had 7 carries for 43 yards and a 6.1 yard average, and 11 receptions for 65 yards yesterday, and should have had a touchdown, but he fumbled. Melvin Gordon, 12 attempts, 58 yards, 4.8 yards a carry. Jerry Jeudy, I've been saying for a while, y'all, Jerry Jeudy had 5 quarterbacks in the first 2 years of his career. Everybody was getting down on Jerry Jeudy, saying Jerry Jeudy can't play, like he's not one of those guys. Well, guess what? Jerry Jeudy got a quarterback now. Jerry Jeudy, who went all of last year without a touchdown, Jerry Jeudy had 7 targets for 4 receptions, 102 yards for a 25.5 average, and 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, uncoverable. Jerry Jeudy was open more than Russell Wilson was looking his way. But let me tell you what happened. When you're in a new scheme and a new system, sometimes you can be a little hesitant to throw the ball down the field. And how do you know that? Andrew Beck had 53 receiving yards in the first quarter. Who's Andrew Beck? H-back, fullback, tight end. That's Andrew Beck. Andrew Beck was in a situation here where he was being utilized because they were playing a shell coverage over the top. And when you're playing against shell as an offense, you're in a situation where they're trying to make you throw underneath and throw in the intermediate section. So what they would do the rollout because the running game was working really well. And Beck made 2 incredible catches in that first quarter, really in the first drive. But you don't get a lot of downfield options. So Albert Okwuegbunam, Eric Saubert, Tomlinson, Beck, Javonte, Melvin, they were feasting on the underneath stuff. So it doesn't look good on Russ's throw chart in terms of where you saw him throwing. Everything was to the outside. So it was in the shallow sections on the left and right side, and it was to the outside. And he didn't throw over the middle because Russell Wilson, because of his height and other things, he's not as comfortable, has never been as comfortable throwing over the middle. And you saw that yesterday. But Jerry Jeudy was open many times over the middle. So I think what's going to happen as the season goes along, he's going to get more chemistry. He's going to have more of a rapport with Jerry Jeudy and with Cortland Sutton. But I think a part of this is that it's just learning how to trust the offense. It's learning for Nathaniel Hackett to trust his quarterback, that you have an elite quarterback. And you know what? Colin Cowherd said something really interesting today. He noted that Nathaniel Hackett has also been the OC when Aaron Rodgers didn't get the ball in that 4th and 8, and then when they had these collapses in the playoffs in the 4th quarter. Now, I'm not saying that's all on Nathaniel Hackett, but that's interesting. It's a really interesting point. Because yesterday, they were just out of position. The entire game, they were taking far too long to get huddled up, far too long to get on the ball. That way, your quarterback can make adjustments on the fly. If he sees something He can read the defense. He can make adjustments on the line of scrimmage when it comes to blitz pickups or, hey, hot. You can go to a now route, which is your slants, which is your bubble, which is your stops, which is your hitches. You can make all those adjustments. You can move people in. If you've got an empty formation and you need a tight end to move in because you need to pick up the blitz, you can do it there as well. But when you're getting to the line of scrimmage with 7 seconds left, you can barely do that. Nathaniel Hackett has to get to the point where he can call a play. You have 42 seconds to work with. Call a play. Give Russell Wilson 25 seconds at the line of scrimmage. That way he can evaluate, hey, cover three. You're in 11 personnel. 11 personnel, they're in a cover 3 nickel situation. That means they got 2 linebackers, a nickel on the field, and you can tell because there's a high safety and there's 2 corners. Cover 3 situation. All right, bet. Hey. Hook curl. Hook curl's going to be there. We're going to need to get deep end available. We're going to need to get an over route available because that stuff is going to be open. Hey, cover 2 situation. Hey, flats off. Hey, we're trying to beat the corner. We're trying to beat the edge. So you're going to have a number 2 route. Number 2, hey, you're going to go on an out route. 7-yard out route. Hey, number 1, they're going to go down the field and try to hit you right in that pocket. You can't have those conversations if you're getting to the line of scrimmage with 7 seconds. So as a defender, that helps me because you know what the Seahawks were doing yesterday? Because they were getting to the line so late, the Seahawks were literally, the rushers were looking at the clock and they were looking at it saying, get it down to 0. So as soon as Russell Wilson got to a scenario where he was trying to get the ball, hey, he's trying to get them to snap the ball. When he does, the Seattle Seahawks are flying off the edge because they can read everything. Like when you see Aaron Rodgers get to the line of scrimmage, and you hear that ready, hot. You hear that. Well, all he's doing is trying to see what they're playing. So as soon as you get the hut, you try to get them to draw offside, or you're trying to get them to show their hand. Like, hey, are you blitzing? It's like hut, blitz. You can see it. Hey, hot. You can do all that stuff, but when you're not in a situation to make any of those adjustments, you fundamentally cap what your offense is capable of doing. And they still have 400 yards. Still had 400 yards. So this is what I'm saying. What I would do, get to the line of scrimmage, give Russell Wilson time to work it out. And I also want to say this because, Giovanni, you brought up something real sick in here. The overreaction from the fan base is crazy. Y'all, I'm not going to hold y'all. It is, bro. You can tell we've been through 6 years of PTSD. You can tell we've been through 6 years of trauma when it comes to the Denver Broncos in football. Because the way people are responding is as if we're looking as like the doom is around the corner. Like that light is not at the end of the tunnel. Y'all, having Russell Wilson solves a lot of issues, but guess what's not solved? A new scheme, new system, a new head coach who's having his first in-game adjustments to the reality that's happening in front of him. Nathaniel Hackett lost control of his own self yesterday. Now, he won't say it like that, but Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Shannon Sharp are all Hall of Famers or Super Bowl MVPs, and they've all won multiple championships. So they're sitting here telling, hey, time out at 58 seconds. What are you doing? Because the players know. They've been in all those situations. Nathaniel Hackett hasn't been there. He's never worn that hat before. But Nathaniel will get better. Why do I know that? Because he has no choice. He has no choice. But here's what I'm telling you. I have no doubt that the Denver Broncos will get it together because Bradley Chubb stepped up in that second half, 2 sacks. Randy Gregory stepped up in the second half, had a strip on DK freaking Metcalf. And guess what? Patrick Surtain II, he is as good as advertised. He's as good as advertised. Matter of fact, y'all, he might be a little too low on how good he is. And the reason I'm saying this is because in the first quarter, for the first, I would say series, maybe 2, Patrick Surtain II was not matched up one-on-one with DK Metcalf. And DK had an initial catch that he was getting against Ronald Darby and all them. And so he was getting a little bit of success. But they made the change mid-game, made the change in the middle of the first quarter and said, all right, bet, let's go ahead and cut all that out right now. Patrick, you got DK Metcalf the entire rest of the game. The entire rest of the game, he was on DK Metcalf. And you know what happened the rest of the game, y'all? Let me read this to you. Because some people were saying, well, I don't feel like he played that well. I don't think PS2 played that well. Here's what DK Metcalf, who was the sole matchup. He wasn't being guarded by anybody else. Sole matchup with Patrick Surtain II. DK Metcalf last night, number 1 receiver, top 10 fantasy receiver the last couple of years, top 10 receiver in the NFL the last couple of years. DK Metcalf had 7 targets, 7 receptions for 36 yards. One of the ultimate downfield threats in the NFL, had 36 yards receiving yesterday on 5.1 yards a reception. That was Patrick Surtain II. And let me go ahead and show y'all this. I'm going to show y'all this screenshot / little graphic that I made, because I want y'all to see that this is not for play. This is for real. I asked Richard Sherman this morning. I asked Richard Sherman myself, hey, one of the quarterback GOATs, question, do you think that Patrick Surtain II has a chance to be the best quarterback in the NFL this season? You know what Richard said? He said yes. He said yes. Now, it's not that I need validation from Rich on my own opinion, but what the validation shows me is that a Hall of Fame corner who has plenty of critique for the game's best players is saying that a second-year player, based on everything he's seen, could be the best player at his position in his second year in football. That goes to show you how great Patrick Surtain is already. That should be speaking volumes to what he's saying. And you know who else says something today? Asante Samuel. Asante Samuel was hyping up him today. Asante Samuel said that he is just impressed with everything that he is doing. With everything that he's doing. Even Asante Samuel is able to see how good he is. And he's able to tell it like it is. Like, that's important, y'all. The fact that you have a second-year player who you can put on a receiver. Jamar Chase last year held him to under 20 yards receiving. Put him on DK Metcalf. Put him on Devontae Adams. Put him on Travis Kelce. It's not about stopping completely. It's about containing. So you're telling me that I can put Patrick Surtain on DK Metcalf and Jamar Chase, and he's holding those players to far below their average? And then you got Justin Simmons and Ronald Darby and Kawan Williams that are helping him, and OJ Mudia when he comes back and all that other stuff. Again, Bradley Chubb is going to figure it out. He has 2 sacks already. I expect him to have a big year if he's healthy. Randy Gregory getting pressure. DJ Jones getting pressure up the middle. Draymond Jones getting pressure up the middle. The Denver Broncos have the talent. Right now, they're the only team in the NFL, I believe, top 5 in yards on defense and offense in the NFL. That's not a fluke. They're going to be good on both sides of the ball. Now it's about Hackett. Coach Hackett figuring out for himself play calling, situational football, and getting used to the scheme. And Russell Wilson buying into the scheme and believing his eyes. Jerry Jeudy can win this matchups. Again, Jerry Jeudy, 4 catches for 102 yards today and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton, 4 catches for 72 yards for an 18-yard average. And this is not including that we didn't get KJ Hamler the ball. Brad Johnson, they didn't get the ball. The receivers weren't getting the ball until really the second half of the game. So think about as he gets more comfortable with the system and the players, this is why I'm not tripping. They have the Texans coming up next. A lot of those old things that you saw in the first game, that rest, no preseason, new scheme, that's going to fall to the wayside a lot. And then they're going to have a chance to beat the Texans, and you got a chance to beat the San Francisco 49ers. So they're in a good situation. The next 3 games are all winnable. The Houston Texans, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Las Vegas Raiders. And again, the Vegas Raiders are 0-1. San Francisco's 0-1. Houston's 0-1. And the Colts just got a draw. Their next 4 games are versus Houston, San Francisco, the Raiders, and the Colts. And they're going to have the best quarterback in every single one of those games. So if that's the case, and you have the best defense out of anybody there, except for maybe the 49ers, So again, all this, Denver Broncos fans, I do believe it's going to work out. It's just going to take time, patience to get the synergy and the chemistry that everybody is looking for. But keep hope alive, y'all. Let me know. Drop it in the comment section what you thought about the game. Drop it in the comment section what you thought about Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, Albert Okwebunam, Melvin Gordon, the fumbles, the offensive line. Let me know what you think about the defensive line, how you think they performed, the linebackers, Alex Singleton and Jonas Griffith, real shaky. But we'll see if they can put it together. Maybe they get a third linebacker. Maybe they need to get a second linebacker. Maybe they can't wait on Josie Jewell. Is he going to be that much of a difference when he comes back? Then you got Patrick Surtain II. You got Ronald Darby. You got Justin Simmons. You got Kareem Jackson. Caden Stearns. The talent is there. It's just putting it together, y'all. So, keep hope alive, y'all. Hey, shout out Denver Broncos. Shout out. Go ahead and like the video. Hit the subscribe button. Broncos fans, please send this to your friends. We need more Broncos fans on the platform, y'all. Share it. Hit the subscribe button, you all. Hey, you already know what time it is, man. I fully believe in this team. We'll see what they can do, y'all. Hey, y'all. Catch y'all on the other side. See y'all soon.